Hi guys, today I'm doing a video I've been dying to do for a really long time, and I finally got around to doing it. As you can tell by the title, this is ways that you can help the environment. I know a lot of these things are kind of obvious, but I think a lot of people just don't think about it. I've talked to people who are very vocal about recycling and, worrying about the environment and, worrying about climate change and things, who still I see using like plastic straws and throwing out their plastic containers instead of recycling them. And I don't mean to be all like preachy and annoying. I wanted to kind of make this video approachable for those who maybe aren't that into this topic, maybe people who just find recycling to be inconvenient. So I made a list of some things. Of course there are millions of ways to help, but these are just the things I kind of threw together that I think are not that hard if you're trying to start out with recycling, or maybe these are things that you just kind of overlooked. So obviously, like I said, I didn't hit everything. I definitely missed some stuff, but I just thought maybe this video would help some of you out, maybe just kind of like perk your interest or just make you think about certain things. I mean, if I get one person to recycle one item from this video, I feel like I did something. This is gonna sound like so ranty, but when it comes to recycling, it's kind of like voting. I think a lot of people think, oh, my vote doesn't count. Does this really count? Like, if I don't go, is there really going to be a difference? And that's the thing. You might think that. You might think, oh, does my one vote count? But think about how many other people feel that way. It really adds up. For every person that does care, there's probably like 10,000 people that just don't worry about it, and I don't want to be all annoying, so sorry about that. Let's get into the list. First thing, recycle. Obviously, most towns, at least in America, have a recycling program. I know a lot of them, like we used to have to separate paper, plastic, all that stuff. Now we have one giant bin that kind of, you put everything, paper, plastic, glass, cardboard boxes, everything you could put in one container. Now just make sure that when you're doing this though, you're not just tossing everything in there. Not everything can go in that bin. So your town probably has some kind of website or something that gives you strict instructions. You also have to make sure if you're buying, spinach in one of those plastic boxes, which is such a waste, that you rinse everything out. It doesn't have food in it if you recycle it, because if any food is in it, it'll contaminate the rest of the stuff. Everything pretty much other than water bottles needs to be rinsed out and cleaned, so just be aware of that. Also, plastic bags from the grocery store, which we shouldn't be using in the first place, I'll get to that, cannot be recycled. I know they say recycle, so you can bring them back to the store. That a lot of stores, I know Kohl's has one, I'm pretty sure Target has one, where you can bring your bags and they will recycle them for you, and they have like a special way of doing that. But most towns, if you have a thing like I do where you put all your recycling in one bin, if you put plastic bags in that, and that goes for also like the plastic things that you have to pop that come in like the Amazon box so things don't break, all those things that say recyclable on them, they cannot go in that bin because they will clog up the machine. Those plastic bags clog up a machine and can really mess up the whole entire recycling process. So be aware of those things. Most plastic bags cannot be recycled unless you have like a special thing by your town that says you can. But obviously, like I said, every town, every city, everything is different, so make sure you look into that. I know it's annoying, but like it probably takes all 5 minutes to Google your town's rules on recycling, and then you know it and you can kind of follow that. Next up is use less water. We all know about Flint. We all know that there are plenty of places that are running low on water, and it's not okay. I mean, if you live like me, you probably don't even realize that because there's bottles of water everywhere and you have plenty of time to take a shower and do your dishes. But so many places, even in America now, have to recycle water and reuse water. So use less water or take shorter showers. Obviously you want to shower every day, but washing your hair less often cuts down a lot of the water, at least for someone with long hair. You don't need to wash your hair every day. Even if you have greasy hair, we've been through this before, it's not that hard to do. We all know dry shampoo is an option. So try to fill your sink with water when you do the dishes instead of constantly letting it go. Don't keep the water running when you're brushing your teeth. All things like that are going to help out, and I know it doesn't sound like it would, but think about, like I said, like about all the people who don't do these things. If you do that and you maybe tell someone else about it and they do it, you're really making a difference. Another one, which should be obvious at this point, but use reusable water bottles. I know plastic water bottles, they're what's out there. It's when you go to the movies, when you go to the mall and you buy water because you're thirsty while you're out. I get it. For me, if I do buy those, I try to reuse them multiple times. Try to have a reusable water bottle. I get that every time you go out, you don't want to carry a water bottle with you. Like, I know that it's not as convenient as just having a bottle you can toss in the recycling bin you're walking by. But keep one in your car, maybe an empty one, and you can fill it anywhere. If you're working or you're going to school, that's the kind of place you can bring your reusable water bottle because you know you're going to be there all day. So think about it. I just think it's important. Reusable water bottles are so cheap now, so stop using plastic water bottles. It's really hard to convince people of that, I know, but seriously, you know how much more you're paying too? It's crazy. Another thing is pay attention to the brands you shop from. Some brands are have are very good at being eco-friendly. They have eco-friendly packaging, they have sustainable ingredients, all that kind of thing. Pay attention to these brands. It's really easy just to look on a brand's website in the About Us section or the FAQ section. You can see what a brand is all about. You can even probably just on their homepage, it'll say a lot of stuff. A lot of brands nowadays are working for completely like zero pollution. They're working for packaging that has been made of recycled materials that is recyclable. Look at those brands. I wrote down just a couple. Shea Moisture is really good at this. Lush, of course. Raw Sugar. There's a lot of brands, and more brands nowadays are going eco-friendly. They're using recyclable packaging, and they're using, you know, sustainable practices. So just look at the brands you're using. Next, cut down on eating beef and meat in general, to be honest, but beef is the biggest culprit. I'm sure you guys know that cows release more methane gas than like a car or a truck, something like that. I don't know all the jibber jabber science behind it, but we know that this is true. If everyone in the country or even the world just cut down on eating meat one day a week, we could make such a difference. I personally am not vegan or a vegetarian, but I try to eat vegetarian 3 to 4 days a week and vegan maybe 2 days a week. I just can't avoid dairy, really. I love cheese, what can I say? But I do try not to eat meat as often as possible. When you think about how we make beef, not only do cows release so much gas into the world, but you know how much water it takes just to make 1 pound of beef? Gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons. Apparently, I wrote this down, 24% of the world's greenhouse gases come from crops and livestock. So try to think about that. Just if you can cut down even 1 day a week of eating meat, you can make a really big difference. I sort of already touched on this, but reusable grocery bags, it is not hard to get them. Most stores sell them now for like $1 or $2. Just have them in your car whenever you go shopping. So there's really no excuse to be using plastic bags. The fact that America is so behind in this is crazy. There's taxes on plastic bags in so many other countries in Europe, but we are just so behind. The fact that just now is Starbucks getting rid of plastic straws and other brands are getting taxed from different cities for using plastic straws, plastic utensils, things like that. We really shouldn't be using them. It's just really pointless to be using them, and if we stop using the plastic bags all the time, maybe they'll stop doing it. And if we speak more vocally about the fact that we want these bans, we want these taxes, things might actually change. I'm sure you guys have seen all this stuff on the news about how by 2030, 2050, there's gonna be more plastic and garbage in the oceans than fish. Like, that's not okay. First of all, we're also overfishing, so cut down on eating fish too. But yeah, there's just so much pollution and so much garbage in landfills, and it's just growing and growing and growing, and there's animals and turtles and sea creatures dying because they're caught in all of this stuff. Another one which I know is difficult for people who live kind of how I live, in the suburbs. It's not super close to do this, but walk or ride your bike when possible. I know in the winter, obviously this isn't like a really great option, but if you live in a city, I'm sure it's a lot easier to get places by walking or riding your bike, so that's great. But it's just a lot less pollution if you can, or carpool, which is a great option too. Instead of having 3 cars, you know, polluting the world, you only have 1 for 3 people. It makes more sense. Another one is buying Energy Star products. This is super easy to do. If you're buying a washer, a dryer, a refrigerator, any kind of appliance, they have the Energy Star rating on them pretty much anywhere. Just look for the ones that are better for the energy savings. Not only will that lower your cost of energy and electricity, but it's better for the environment as well. Of course, you can also use solar panels if that's something you want to invest in. I know there's like a lot of pros and cons about that apparently, and it depends on your budget and things like that. Look up other ways to recycle. I know this can be a little complicated, but it's really easy to research. But other than recycling stuff just at home, you know, dumping your cardboard boxes in the recycling bin, there's other options for recycling. There's the TerraCycle program, which a lot of companies work with, but it's not just like, oh, it says TerraCycle, so you throw it in the recycling bin. That's not how it works. You have to reach out and they will send you a label, and you can send the products back to recycled. A lot of beauty brands have something on their website, you just have to look into it, where you can send back your empty products and they will send you like a discount or free product, things like that, and that way they can recycle them. You know, Lush has the program where you send back, you give 5 empty pots to them and they give you a free face mask. MAC has their like 5 lipsticks and they 5 empty products to give you a free lipstick, something like that. There's a lot of different brands that have kind of programs like that to help you recycle. So if you look into that, look into the brands you use and see what their options are. Local produce. Now this is something that's kind of hard to know where your produce is coming from, and usually big stores like Stop and Shop and ShopRite aren't going to have local produce, but a lot of them do have a section. I know that Stop and Shop near me has a section that says New Jersey produce. When you buy that stuff, it is a bit more expensive some of the time. Or you go to a farmer's market that might have stuff that's more local. The local produce is so much better for the environment, A, because it didn't have to travel across the country or from Mexico or anywhere else. If you get produce from New Jersey and you live in New Jersey, not only is that going to be more fresh, but it's also hasn't traveled in a truck creating pollution across the country or wherever it's coming from. Those are the things I have on my list and more things are coming to my mind, but I don't want to make this video too long. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave any other recommendations you guys have for environmentally friendly ideas and things like that down in the comments. I'm sure other people would want to read them. I'm happy to read them. I really want to add more ways I can help the environment if I can. And yeah, I think that's all I have to share. So subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I'll see you next time.